Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here. We have Mr. Dave Robinson in the house. He decided to get out of the woods for us, so we appreciate it. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, though. If you could see the video of this, my beard doesn't look like I made it out of the woods. It looks like I'm still in the woods. So.
Dude, I've had somebody interview from a jungle in Costa Rica. I've had another guy in a jungle. So, I mean, we take them any way we can get them, really.
I love it. Well, I'm back in my hometown of Richmond, Virginia. Pumped to be here. And I did spend about 10 days up in northern Maine on one of the last treks of or segments of the Appalachian Trail called the 100-Mile Wilderness Trail. So my girlfriend, my partner Ruslana, and I went up there, did that as our first big backpacking trip. Learned a lot of lessons, spent a lot of time in beautiful nature. Super rad experience. So glad to be back.
Yeah. So, what I like to do with my guests is we don't really know each other that well. I mean, I don't even know what you do personally, but that's okay. I mean, because I'm pretty sure you're a part of that one crazy group over there, but we got introduced. And so, tell us a little about yourself and kind of, you start your story where you want to, and we'll go from there.
Rad. So I have a holistic healthy habits coaching practice, and I am a professional storyworking coach. So we were introduced by Mark England, one of the crazy co-founder over at that pirate group, the Enlifted community. But we're all a bunch of coaches who focus on deconstructing the victim mentality and helping people create space so that they can design their life moving forward. At least that's how I practice myself. Yeah.
And I think my biggest thing that I need to get a better tagline for my coaching. Like, mindset coaching sounds pretty boring. I mean, that sounds fun.
It is fun. And it's fun in a couple different ways, right? Because, in my opinion, mindset coaching is really valuable because what that encompasses is maybe positivity, maybe it's accountability, maybe it's discipline or something along those lines, right? Maybe it's even goal setting, right? But the biggest thing that I've found with personal development and optimizing personal development is that the stories we're telling ourselves, right? What's in the head and the heart is what matters most. And that's really what's driving the ship, right? The words that we're using, how we're breathing, and those things dictate in large part our responses to our environment, right? And of course our habits matter, all those things, our routines, et cetera, right? But it's so much more than mindset training or mindset coaching, right? We're digging into stuff that we've experienced. We're digging into stuff that we are experiencing now, right? Maybe getting a stress response from and figuring out how to move that energy, which clears a whole bunch of space for us to really get creative in, right? And so that's where I think goal setting can be really, really very effective, is when you clear space before that, right?
Yeah, and what's interesting is I think one of the things that has come up in the last couple of weeks, just noticing some clients, some things in business. To me, I think what is the most alarming is that I think life's a lot about patterns. I think patterns of, hey, I'm in this situation, right? And one of the things that's coming up more, and I just got off a coaching call with somebody, it's very hard to change your life around and get started and head on a new path. But I almost find it harder to maintain success. Because they're waiting for that shoe to drop, right? Because, in the past, this has happened, right?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, and it's hard once that it can be. It can be difficult once the flywheel gets started, right? It starts to feel easy. And so you're like, okay, cool. Now I can not row as hard, right? And it really, those good long strokes of that flywheel feel good when you're in the groove. It's hard to get going, right? But once you're in the groove, a lot of times, then once that thing's moving, it'll stay moving, But it's easy for us as humans to think, oh, okay, cool, we got it now, and to then start slowing it down, and then the momentum slows, right?
Because what got you there is not going to get you there. Meaning, what got you here is not going to get you there, right? And so, what would you say is you coach a lot of people. What would you say is the most, the top kind of stories that you're seeing when it comes to working with people?
Most people don't believe in themselves. Most people don't believe in what they could actually do, or they think that the ceiling is, or the bar is, very, very low on them, right? Like they aren't able to achieve grand things, right? A lot of people have something in their personal life or something in their work life or a thought or a feeling or a belief about their physical health or a reality about their physical health that prevents them from experiencing joy in their life, right? Or prevents them from experiencing, maybe that one big thing in that one bucket is pulling down, your life enjoyment on the 1 to 10 scale. Maybe that one thing's pulling it down by like 4 points. And now when you were at like an 8.5 or a 9, now you're down in like the 5s and things aren't going so hot, right? I found for a lot of successful people, I found for a lot of people who are very driven, for a lot of people who do want to make an impact and are making an impact in their communities, that, if you think of life in a couple different buckets, right? Like you've got your work, you've got your relationships, you've got your finance, you've got your fitness or your health, right? You've got your fun and your friends, right? If all those things aren't at about a 7 or an 8 or above, things aren't that great. Right, because then you can be crushing it at work, and then you go home, and your home life's at a 3, right? And it's like, wow, well, life sucks. Same with work. Everything's great on the weekend, but you go to work, and that you're just really dissatisfied, right? Or something, you got something going on with your boss, right? And so my point with all this is that there's a lot of ways and a lot of areas in people's lives where, if we can focus on it for a little bit, if we can write some stuff down, if we can clear some energy, if we can move some energy related to that thing, if we can get some clarity on some things in those different categories that I mentioned before, then all of life gets a lot better. And then you can go live more, right? You can live feeling lighter and more free and more focused. So it's things that a lot of us are dealing with in some capacity, but you can't necessarily talk to your boss about your wife. You don't want to be talking to your wife about your boss all the time. And, so that's like, there's a disconnect somewhere.
Well, I think what I've noticed is that, I feel like a lot of adults are just white knuckling life. Like they're not having fun. They're fucking miserable. They're trying to get somewhere for somebody else. They don't even know what they want. There's no clarity, no direction, no nothing. I mean,
they're climbing a mountain that they wanted to climb maybe, 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago, or they're climbing a mountain that they should be climbing, right? Because that's what society or their parents, or because they went to college and got the job and married the guy or the girl, and like, here's where I am, this is where I'm at, right? And so a lot of people are very afraid to make that leap, are very afraid to transition from that. They're very afraid to get uncomfortable, even when they're slogging up the same, I think I just made up a word. But even when they're going up the same, mountain over and over and over again, and it sucks, they're going to keep doing it.
So how does one begin to change the narrative?
Interrupt the pattern. You got to interrupt the pattern and come to the awareness or the realization that, hey, maybe you could do something else, and I mean, that's there's a lot of places to start with that. I was a financial planner for about 7 years, right? Right out of college, I was a strength and conditioning coach at the University of Richmond, which is in my hometown. Had no freedom and flexibility of time or income at all whatsoever. So I left that career searching for those things, flexibility of time and income, right? Got into financial planning, started off with just trying to figure it all out, but ended up getting in with a great firm that did things the right way with good people. And we did fully comprehensive work, and it was great. I realized I was like a B- to B+ happy, right? And I had this moment. I ended up, long story short, I got bit by a spider. I got put in the hospital on my elbow. I have no idea where I got bit. It was bullshit, frankly, but but got bit by the spider in the hospital a couple of days later. And I have this realization that Saturday night had turned to Sunday, right? It was like 12:50 a.m. or something like that. And I was supposed to be discharged the next day. This was the second night in there. And, so now it's Sunday. Damn, that means tomorrow's Monday and I got to go back into work. Maybe I'll just stay here. And it was that maybe I'll just stay here thought that made me completely rethink the trajectory. I had been wanting to go do something else. I've been wanting to leave and get back into coaching in some capacity, and really needed that push. I needed a spark. I needed a moment, right? And or at least I felt that I did. And that was that for me. Within a couple months after that, I had left and started a fitness business and gone on to do the, I guess ultimately where I'm at now 4+ years later. But a lot of people are okay with just staying in one spot again, and not realizing that they could do something else. Mm-hmm. That realization has to come from them. There's got to be a buy-in. There's got to be an inflection point.
Because I find it far less about the money or the reason they would change or whatever. I find it more about the status that it says to other people what said job, right? Like, dude, it takes a lot of to leave a $200,000 job where you're working 30 hours a week. I've met plenty of guys who get into real estate or coaching full time, and they're just not. Their identity is not tied to what the job says they are in the community. And I think that it really takes some inner belief, what you talked about earlier. It takes understanding that there's got to be more out there, and a lot of that's happened to me in the last year. And like, I literally could give two shits about whatever job, whatever thing says the things. I mean, to be honest with you, my friends that know me for a long period of time, they think I smoke weed and fucking wear sandals all day, but you're a fucking life coach. What the fuck is that? You're the drunk. What are you talking? I've known you since you were 17, so
you
like
be a life coach and smoke weed and wear sandals all day. Just saying, but go ahead.
No, I know. It's totally acceptable. That's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But the more I pull apart people's, like you said, like I love stories. Like the more I pull apart people's stories, I find that they're not even doing it for themselves. They're doing it for what the status or whatever the fuck a job says.
Or they haven't thought it all the way through. They're just doing it. Just shit. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you're absolutely right that a lot of the times people aren't going to leave that situation, right? And so then the question becomes, how can we optimize what you're doing otherwise, right? Like, maybe it's you get a little bit more energy. Maybe it's you're feeling a little bit better about that thing that happened when you were 7, or whatever it may be. And so then you have more peace with the situation that you're in if you aren't willing to or able to change that situation. So ultimately, I think it's about helping people become more satisfied with the life they're living so that they can continue to live even more fulfilling lives, whatever that means for them.
And I think for me, I'll speak for myself, and you're a health coach. Like, I was talking to a health coach this morning and I lost 65, 70 pounds, in the last 2 years.
Hell yeah, dude.
From not drinking anymore. And among many other things, but I believe this 100%. I believe that the quickest way to change, the quickest way to write a new story is the health pillar. I think that the health pillar is you get small wins. It's, but also I think the bigger issue right now is there's so much fucking information out there. You don't even know which way to turn.
Yeah. 100%. And, I think the cool thing about what you said is that's where a lot of people start their personal evolution journeys is in that health pillar, because like you said, you could see those small wins and in large part, yes, there's a ton of information out there and it's still science. Like calories in, calories out is still an equation that ultimately is one that will be very effective, especially if there's a lot of weight to lose or you want to gain weight or something along those lines, right? Mm-hmm. Health can be very nuanced. Health is very individualized. Because there's so much information out there, what I found to be very effective for myself and my clients is not focusing on the gym and not focusing on the diet as much and focusing on other lifestyle factors like things in nature. I'm looking out my window. I got a great garden out here. I'd love spending time in the garden, so what does a garden need? A garden needs sunlight, Cool. Water. Cool. It needs like time, rest, basically, right? It needs attention. It needs consistency. It needs to get the weeds out of there. So you pull the distractions out, and keep the distractions away, right? And so I try to focus on those holistic things, less on the gym, less on what we're eating, and let's just move more, right? Let's just drink more water. Let's get outside more. And those things really start to pull stress levels down, which allow really a lot of good things to happen.
And I think that, I knew when I started, like mentally, I was not okay to look at a scale. And I just made a decision, like I couldn't take the ebb and flows of the weight. And I just said, you know what, I'm not going to look at it. And I didn't look at it for like 2 years, and it's like, but I think that people almost set themselves up for failure by trying to be perfectionists. I'm going to go from I ate like shit, I drank too much, to I'm going to be perfect and I'm going to work out every day. And I mean, it's like you're almost doing it on purpose. You're almost tripping yourself up because it's easier to go back the other way. When I've adopted, this is just me, I said, what do you want? I said, I want a healthy lifestyle. Well, my lifestyle consists of, I look at real estate, I help people, I move my body, I drink water. Okay, well, I do that on vacation. I do that. Okay, great. And here's the scary thing is that to lose the 70 pounds, yeah, that happened. But to go from the 70 to the 80, that's the journey and a half, to go from 180 to 170. And that's what people don't understand. And so if you're riding the wave of, well, the scale says this, I mean, dude, there's so many factors that go into that.
100%. And the scale lies, it's same with like BMI, right? Like that's, it can be a good indicator and it can also be very deceptive. And so I think that ultimately it's you can go to a lab and get a lot of great biomarkers and know that way. You can check your breathing, right? If your breathing is consistently low and slow, that's a pretty damn good sign, right? How's your energy level on a regular basis, right? How do you feel interacting with people? Are you getting good sleep? Do you like your body composition? Is your body composition heading in the direction that you'd like over a period of time, right? A lot of those things can be better indicators other than the scale for how things are going and the direction that you're in, and you're right. Sometimes that last 10 pounds or that last, crest of the mountain is the hardest part. And that's when a lot of people tend to either give up or stop doing what they've been doing to get to that point. Or, maybe I talk about this a lot, setting the trajectory to the right angle, right? A lot of people want a rocket ship and realize that, straight up a lot of times equals straight down. Whereas if we can take off like an airplane does, we can get to that cruising altitude soon enough, right? It just might take a little bit longer. So being realistic with that, but also setting those big goals.
And I think one of the things, when I started getting a lot of coaching clients, I was trying to like figure out a way to like lose some of that energy because there's a lot of attachment when it comes to people's problems and you're holding space for them and so on and so on. I've been getting on a regular basis, I've been getting some body work, massaging done. And nice. Dude, you ever want to find out about your body, how you're feeling? Go get body work done. And they'll be like, oh yeah, like 2 sessions ago, you were tight as a freaking drum. Now you're, now you're a lot more looser. Like I couldn't lift my shoulder up here. And now, I can go all the way. And he's like, and that was a month worth of work. I mean, and he's like, there's still, I was an alcoholic for 20 years. And he's like, there's still, toxicity in your body, And so that for me has really opened my eyes to how much we, stress, how much the body is holding in, that I don't think the general public has any idea what's going on in their body.
No, we aren't taught how our words affect us. We aren't taught how our breath affects us. We aren't taught how our environment affects us, or what we put into our bodies affects us, right? And ultimately, we can laugh. I say, like how what happens when we breathe, right? Like you take in a breath, bunch of science inside. You exhale, right, and we stay alive, right? We don't do a whole lot of thinking behind those mechanisms or what happens then, right? And ultimately, what I've found is that when we take a step back, right? When we take a big step back and we look at the bigger picture, right? We're going to find a lot of clarity from not trying to get into the science, right? From not trying to figure out.
Dude, I told my mom, the other day I said, I'm super into, I have empath. Some things like hit me, like I feel an energy pull. I was like, I'm really gonna like try to dig into why that is. And she goes, no, you're not. She goes, just let it go. Just flow with life,
Yep.
And I think that the overall fact is that you're walking around and you're saying, I feel like shit. I'm tired all the time. Let's really talk about, like, that's the biggest thing, ever since I met my girlfriend. Like, she's very no sugar, no medicine, no nothing. Like, and I'm like, dude, I thought I was eating good, but fuck, I was eating pretty bad for a good eater. Like, I think that's more common than people think.
It's super common because people aren't reading labels. They aren't looking at nutrient density. They're not eating a variety of different things. They're not eating seasonally or local or organic, or, putting time, energies, and efforts into those things, or growing their food, or hunting their food, or linking up with someone who grows or hunts their food and getting food from them, right? There's a lot of steps that we can take that goes way beyond not eating bad stuff. Right. Which is okay, if it's not bad, then it must be healthy. Right. Well, that's not accurate either. But it's about controlling the stress response and being okay with controlling the stress response, being okay with being uncomfortable. And that's what a lot of people are not okay with. They're making themselves uncomfortable, or they're trying to make themselves comfortable, rather, right? And they're enduring uncomfortable shit in their environment and in their life, when they could potentially change a lot of that by leaning into more of the harder things. Like, that's where ice baths are so great. That's where, a sensory deprivation tank is so awesome, or body work can be great, or sauna can be great, or, there's so many different modalities that people can lean into to help train that response to stress, which ultimately dictates how we live our lives. Our response to the stress around us, the words we're using, how we're breathing. Yeah.
And I make a simple point to kind of bring it home for people. It's like, fever is the body's way of correcting, and like, hey, I broke my fever, I'm better, right? And the first thing we do is grab an Advil or a Tylenol. And it's like, how about you? Yeah, to defend it, I'm like, how about you just breathe through it? Like, hey, your stomach fucking hurts. Like, don't fucking eat. Like, how? Like, I know that sounds like fucking crazy, but it's like, I've really enjoyed fasting, and I've done it for 3 days. I do 24 hours a week, and I'll be honest with you, man. I think it's taught me more about my mind than anything I've ever done.
Those first couple fasts are some serious.
It's amazing what we say to ourselves when we're hungry.
Totally.
Yeah, it's wild. You breathe through it. You kind of, and dude, I tell you what, if you breathe through it like 3 or more minutes, it'll pass. And you're like, wait, I'm not hungry. Like, it's that sensation you just have to get over.
It's the same with being cold or hot, right? Like, those things are just that. It's just cold. It's just hot. It's just a thing. It's just a sensation, right? Let's not give it any more power than it has to have, and that can be for everything. Angry. Okay, cool. Angry is angry, right? Let's let it pass, right? Typically it's a pretty quick thing, but if we hang on to it, or, try to push it down, or, whatever it is, then it can stay a lot longer and manifest in a lot of other ways. And so I love that you were focusing on your breath during those moments, and I think that's the key thing I try to get my clients to focus on themselves, whether they're working out, whether they're doing dishes, whether they're, in a stressful situation, or about to enter a stressful situation, or just left a stressful situation, right? There's a breathing pattern for all of those, and getting familiar with some common breathing patterns and having awareness of our breath is the first place to start. And I think it's the biggest bang for the buck.
And yet nobody knows anything about
Yeah, because we just breathe. It just happens, right? It just happens. I'm
No,
breathing
it's like I tell everybody all the time. You breathe and your body's made up, 70-60% water, and nobody gives a shit about either one of them.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas good water, sunlight on a regular basis, and good breathing patterns can fix a lot of things.
I was watching this documentary where this guy he created a health retreat in Portugal, and all these people were one guy was taking 60 pills a day to survive. Like, that's how many diseases he had. And they did a juice cleanse for 30 days and worked out, and every single one of them were off all their pills after 30 days.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense, and that can send us down a pharmacological rabbit hole if we want. We can avoid that as well, if you would like. But it's.
I like a good rabbit hole.
Yeah, I like a good conspiracy theory every now and then. The conspiracy.
Oh, you're gonna go there? Okay, this is my coaching client's building a massive private health insurance company because he can't stand the way that health insurance is done. So yes.
Yeah, the conspiracy theory is that, wow, nature doesn't work, right? We got to use all this other stuff to fix what nature should be doing or could be doing, and the way that it's been manipulated. Our food system's been manipulated, and our water supply has been manipulated. The air that we breathe, right? I don't know. I just got back from, again, the main mountains, and the air is different up there.
Yeah.
Right. The water is different up there. Right. I imagine if I was pulling food from the ground, it would taste a little bit different up there than what I got out of the grocery store as well. And the cool thing is that in my backyard in Richmond, Virginia, with some time, energies, and efforts, I can pull Swiss chard out of my garden. I can pull, stuff out of my,
so the long-term goal for us, is to have, 1,000 acres, self-contained, with multiple cabins for friends to just come. And I want to have multiple cabins where they're called artist cabins. So if you're writing a book, you want to come for a month and write your book. You got out of a divorce, you want to come stay, like whatever that is that when you know where it's coming from, when you can see it, when you can directly, we've lived on a couple farms. Like, let me tell you something, those eggs are tasting different.
100%, 100%. They're different color too. They're orange as opposed to like pale white or yellow, rather.
Back on the health insurance thing, he told me a stat when I was visiting him in Colorado that blew me away. There's a more percentage of Americans on 2 prescriptions than 0 in America.
Damn. Wow. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Because you're taking one to combat the other.
Yeah.
And it's like, geez, like, just go work out.
Both made by the same company, maybe,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm curious, as we wrap it up here, I know it's fresh and it's new. Like, I know a lot of people out there would like to go backpacking in the wilderness. Yeah. And, I'm up in Tahoe and it's very sparse in some areas up here, to say the least. Wow. What are your initial kind of takeaways from something like that?
There's a great quote by John Muir that I think about all the time. I'd rather be in the mountains thinking about God than in church thinking about the mountains. And being out in nature, especially the grandiose aspect of the alpine, anything really, is something that reminds me of God more than anything else, or whatever that may be, the creator or just the universe or whatever, right? And I left my phone in the car for 10 days, which is, I'm 33, probably got a phone at, like, call it 15 for easy math. So, like, 18 years. It's been 18 years since I have not had a phone by my side, probably every day since then. Maybe I broke a phone and I didn't have it for like a day or two, but, other than that, I've had a phone for almost 18 years or more. And so I didn't have that. And it broke patterns, right? Like, I was able to sleep on the ground for 10 days, right? I had no Wi-Fi for 10 days. I drank out of streams and purified my water and just worried about food and shelter and warmth and it made life very simple, very clear, and very enjoyable by stripping away a lot of the other stuff. And so it's an experience that I'm really excited that I did. I'm really excited to do again. I'm really excited to get back out in nature in a lot of different ways. And I'd recommend it to anybody. Just be prepared, bring enough food. Maybe don't do 10 days and 100 miles or 8 days and 100 miles your first time you ever do it.
Yeah. I tell everybody, because I've had I got divorced last year, lost my job, that whole thing. But that's the 9th of a million things that have happened in my time. Yeah. Homeless, meth addict, all that stupid shit. I said there's some freedom though in blowing your fucking life to smithereens, because you get to take what you want and leave the rest. Mm-hmm. And I think if this last year and a half's taught me anything, because I gave away a house, a dog, my shit. You don't need a lot to be happy.
No, you don't.
You really don't. And I'm almost saying that to myself. I'm going to say it again. You don't need a lot to be happy, because that's a constant reminder that I should probably write down somewhere.
Flip it around then. Try and take out the you and say I.
I don't need a lot to be happy. Good. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I'm tomorrow Wednesday will be 4 sessions in with certification 1 and lifted. And wow. I really don't know, and I have pretty high expectations because I don't have any formal training.
Totally.
But I tell you what I find more attractive than anything is the ease and art that he guides the workshop with. That's what I find.
Yeah. It's not rocket science, as Mark says, right?
There's no injected of the way he needs you to feel. He's just letting you feel the way you feel. Totally. And there's so much joy and fucking simplicity in that art.
Totally. And for me, it was one of the most life-changing things that I ever did. And I've been buddies with Mark for 4 or 5 years, and he's been instrumental in my growth as a coach. And it still was one of the most influential things I did. And actually, the thing that I did right after graduating level 1 that launched me into doing this full time was I got up with a recovery community here in town and do a lot of work in the addiction recovery community. Folks,
we got a lot of common. And what's interesting, because I do a lot of work in the addiction community as well too. I was meth addict and alcoholic for 20 years. I've been sober for 2 years, 9 months. And awesome. The biggest issue that I see in the addiction space is people label it as just drugs and alcohol. Addiction holds forms in many, many areas in life. And when you can spot that pattern behavior of addiction, whether it be work or toxicity, relationship, or the way you speak to yourself, like it holds more weight than people realize out there in the community.
Totally. How have you found that? How have you combated that yourself?
So I'll be honest with you, and I don't say this flippantly. So anybody that's listening, please don't take it that way. I'm pretty stubborn. So it might take me a little while to get along with the train, but once I do, I'm done. Like when I got to like day 60, I was done. Like I was like flying high, and I was like, I've never felt like this in my entire life. And I kept putting things in my way. Like, I'm going to do a half Ironman. Well, I can't drink. And I kept putting things. And then we got to like a year. I was like, oh, I'm good. Never again.
Yeah.
There's just certain people, especially former Irish. There's just certain people that I'm just better without it. And I don't, that doesn't mean that there aren't some other things, but me and alcohol just don't jive. It's just not a good. And the thing is I wasn't even doing it anymore for pleasure. And because I sold wine for 20 years and I'm a master bartender. So there's a romantic side of me still with alcohol, wineries, and I still like to travel. I just don't see the need for it anymore personally. And it's hard. And, I tell you what's interesting about addiction. I ran into a guy in San Diego not too long ago who was a heroin addict for 10 years. And he said, hey man, I want to shake your hand. You quit alcohol. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? You're a heroin addict. He goes, fuck you, harder with alcohol. He goes, it's more mainstream. It's everywhere. It's in your face. And like, I was like, yeah, it is. It's so, and I tell everybody the hardest thing for me was two things: learning to travel without it and celebrate without it. Those were so ingrained in who I was. That was a big mountaintop for me.
It's ingrained in culture, and again, kudos to you, and big props for maintaining that and having the awareness behind that. What's your thoughts on cannabis?
So I've only shared, I just was on Ryan Sprague's podcast, like 3 days ago. New favorite human. I swear to God, this man, I just want to shake him, hang out with him forever. He's the fucking shit.
Can I do a Ryan Sprague original?
Yeah. What's that?
Ryan leads breath work, amazing human being. He leads breath work whenever we're in a fun setting or party setting or a good time at some point in the night, right? And it's like, hey, all right, let's squat up, let's do this breath work, right? And it's just like DMT, Wim Hof style breathing breath work at whatever hour of the night or morning, right? So we'll circle it up, and he explains it, and it always takes us forever to get started. God, it's so long to get this guy actually going, right? And then we get going, right? And it's like, all right, one long on three, 1, 2, 3, and he leads it. We get done, we do the inhale, we do the exhale, we do the squeeze, we do the hold, right? Everybody feels great, right? And the laugh that Ryan does when he comes back, it's like, oh my God. And he just starts dying laughing. And it's every time, like clockwork, every single time, oh my God. And then just,
dude, he's just so happy, dude.
He's so happy. So keep going.
So when my coach lives down in Costa Rica, he spent 15 years in the recovery space. And he said, listen, man, you are a fucking rhino. He's like, you go like harder than anybody. He's like, you drank every day for 8 years. I would highly suggest that you don't just fucking quit cold turkey. You got to figure something out. And so I don't love marijuana, but I did. When I stopped drinking, I smoked for 35 days straight at night to kind of like calm the brain down.
Yeah, totally. And
it was amazing. I mean, literally saved me, because you didn't feel it bad the next day. And I thought to myself, I said, well, fuck, I feel this great off alcohol. What if I just didn't smoke either? And so I just didn't smoke for I think I made it like 75 days. I smoke like every now and then. I'll smoke before I go get body work just to chill out. Yeah. I just can't handle my cannabis the way I can handle an 8-ball. So, I just, I try to keep up with some people, and that's a bad move. The ones that scare me is every now and then I've ingested a little too much edibles, and I went on a magic carpet ride that I didn't want to be on. Yeah. So I'm a little nervous. Yeah.
My favorite mantra is I took a medicine and the medicine is working. Took the medicine and the medicine is working.
Yeah. But I truly believe, and I was talking to Ryan about this, and this is why it's about to get different. So funny enough, we're actually starting a business in the cannabis space in Oklahoma. We just got our LLC yesterday, but that's a whole nother can of worms. But when you start, and I saw it too, when you start seeing soccer moms at the CBD shops,
when you start to see the 50 plus crowd be more than the 30 under crowd there.
Yeah. And what's interesting is like, here's my philosophy on shit. Get away from the manufactured pills.
Yep.
Take the earth pills.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. And if that's the case, then lose the stigmas, lose the bullshit. Like, dude, people that are high in trauma or have had something terribly happen to them, like, dude, do what you got to. Like, because there is something to be said to smoking, putting on music, and coming up with creative ideas. It creates a different space, right? But the problem is, like he said, is that, nobody really knows shit about marijuana. They really don't. Like, and even these days, like, when California took, like, it's like, I'm from Texas, and like, when Texas goes, Texas is going to make California look like it's nothing. The amount of space they have and stuff. So here's what I am for. If they're going to do it anyway, you might as well get the money for it. Have better roads, better schools. That's my philosophy on everything. They're going to do it.
Then you end up that way. Like, there's pros and cons with that. Yes, and the other side is you end up with potentially, like in Virginia, there's going to be 5 places you can get.
Oh, so they're creating a monopoly.
Created a monopoly behind it. They're growing it, mass producing it. Like
it's not the same.
Here, in town, they're just going to flip the switch on the tobacco thing and just like, and here's your joints from,
Mm-hmm.
right. And it's not the same as having plants in your backyard. It's
Sure.
not the same as having, and I would argue 100 times out of 100 that it's better than alcohol. It's better than.
Dude, let me tell you something. If you want to abuse something, just the thing with me is the alcohol leads to driving in the cars, leads to feeling like shit the next day, leads to takes you 3 days to recover, leads to so many different things.
Yep.
Just do it at your home, chill the fuck out, like whatever. Like it's just way different. It's just two different societies, two different things, and it's a slippery slope when you start getting into this space. Like my coach for a long time would get a lot of shit in the recovery space, to do anything, whether that be psychedelics or anything. Like, oh no, that's just you're relapsing. Well, no.
It's like,
generated fucking
trip.
Generated methamphetamine is fucking nasty ass shit, and it's generated in the lab. No, it's not good for you.
Right.
So if people want to find out about your coaching and follow your journey, how would they do that?
Workyourstories.com. Love to hop on a phone call with somebody and talk through your journey, see how I might be able to help you optimize what you would like to be doing. I've got a men's mentorship program as well. It's called The Art of Human Flourishing. You can find out that from there as well. And I'm on Instagram at Get Strapped, Stay Strapped.
Wonderful. I really hope that you're working on Mark England, because I have to watch the videos of him from 15 years ago, and I'm like,
that shit ain't 15 years ago, man. That might be 5. Not 15.
Oh, now he's even in more trouble.
So, and you can tell him I said this because he came up with it, and it's funny. This is still ongoing. Operation Lardass is in full effect. Operation Lardass is the operation to get Mark England back in shape. So
I love it.
We're chopping, man. We're chopping at it.
I love it. Well, I appreciate it, guys. If you got some value from this, send it to your friend. We'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks, Austin.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.